everyone. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. I am Ramon. I'm from the YayStar training team, and I will be in charge of all three courses of YayStar Certified Security Specialist training courses. And this is the lesson one. So from this course, you will learn about how can you uh, secure your telephone system based on YayStar S-Series VoIP PBX. Um, the reason why we have this lesson is security is a vital issue these days, especially when we are using a VoIP PBX. Well, with the VoIP PBX, all data exchanges, all the voice is running through the internet, and not to mention in most IPPBX, we do have left interfaces to the public internet to realize a couple of features that is very important for an IPPBX. Well, the whole VoIP technology has made our telecommunication way easier, faster, with high quality and efficiency, and not to mention the ability to integrate and interact with other systems. So it's safe to say that IPPBX or telephone system has never been so versatile, so interactive, and so multifunction ever. But the thing is, as the whole PB, as it's based on VoIP and it's based on SIP technology, SIP protocol, your PBX, your whole telephone system has to be exposed on to the public internet. So there is always risk of being hacked, and well, the reason why people will hack a telephone system is mainly for economic reasons. People hack into your system to make fraud calls. That is to say, a hacker will get into your system, probably register to your system as an extension, and use the services that you have, the services that you have to make, like for example, like long distance international phone calls. They will make pure profit from those calls, and eventually, you as the PBX owner will have to pay for all the international phone calls that they make, and they resell, but and they will leave with pure profit and no traces at all. So it is vital that we really secure our system to prevent that from happening. Well, in our S-Series VoIP PBX, we do have two security mechanisms and a lot of configurations and we can do to really secure our telephone system. So in those three courses, we will be talking about everything that we can do to prevent our PBX from internet attack, from hacking, and so you will be able to enjoy the convenience, the efficiency brought by VoIP telecommunication, and at the same time have a peace in mind that your whole telephone system is totally secured. Before I actually get into the training courses, I'd like to invite you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and so you can get all updates directly from YayStar. You can find us from linking here. We offer you our informations, and also we also have a YouTube channel which you can subscribe, and we practically update videos every week, talking about the features, our features, configurations, new functions that we have, new products, and more importantly, how you configure your S-Series PBX to realize certain function. So if you want, you can go to YouTube and will search Yaystar. You won't miss our channel. Subscribe, and you will get weekly update directly from us. Okay, now let's start our first course of security specialist training. Well, in our first lesson, we will be talking about several details that you have to really pay special attention to while you are setting up the system to really make sure that you don't leave loopholes or you don't embed time bombs in your system. And then we will be talking about a few configurations that we can make in our PBX system to really secure our PBX. So this is basically what the first lesson is about. As you can see here, we are in the login page. We are using a web browser to log in, and well, as an administrator, you put in the administrator username and password to get into the system. Every time you log into the system, if you log into the system for the first time, you will see this window pop out. As you all know that our default password for the administrator is actually password, PASSWORD. This is a standardized default password in all of our PBXs. We strongly suggest that you change this password, and this is actually exactly why we make this pop out if you keep your default password. So if you are still using the default password for your administrator account, every time you log into the system, this window will pop out to really urge you to change the default password. And this is exactly what you should do as the first step to really secure your system. This is actually a very important thing to do. Because there is a bunch of ways for a hacker to get into our system, and one of them is by breaking the administrator account. So by using a default standardized, very simple administrator password, you are making it way too easy for the hacker to hack into the system. And the next thing we will have to do is to assign an email address to the PBX. Mainly, the system will contact the administrator through this email account. That is to say, if there is anything happening to this PBX, any unusual issue, the system will, and if you have configured it in the event center, the system will surely send an email to alert the administrator. That includes if their intention to log in through administrator account with the wrong password. That means if someone tried to log into the PBX with the password with the account with the administrator account, but failed because they have put in the wrong password, and the system will alert the administrator by sending an email to this email address that we have just mentioned. As I have said, there are a bunch of ways for a hacker to get into the system, and to break your system, your administrator password, one way is to use a piece of software to massively try your password until they get they get the right password and log in. But with this mechanism, once a wrong password has been put in, that you as the administrator will be alerted right away. And the next thing is we need to set up a IP and an email address for the PBX to send this alert to the administrator. So the PBX itself will need an mailbox. This is where you set up the mailbox. We can support any mailbox. The thing is, you will need to get to the the provider of your mailbox to get all those parameters, especially the SMTP server domain and the POP3 server domain. One thing you need to be aware is that if you have check enable TLS, which means that your email will be encrypted this way. Once if you check TLS, the port here, the port information here will be changed, but the service provider will not offer you this information directly. So you will need to really contact the mailbox provider and get get the port with with the TLS enabled. Okay. That's it, and let's move on. And well, another thing you might want to do here is to secure the access through web browser. As you know that we use a web GUI as our operation platform, so that means our telephone system is is based on a browser server structure. The advantage here is the convenience and the integratability. The thing is, well, you can use any web browsers to get into as an access to get into the system. So, but anybody can have a web browser. So it's not like a special client or special piece of software that you use to log into the system. So we need to really secure this access. We have done a lot of works here. As you can see, we use HTTPS instead of HTTP. So this is now way more secure. And as for the port through which we access through web, instead of the usual port 80, we use a very unusual 8088. This is what you can see right here. But if you like, you can also change this if you want. That means, but to changing this, you can go to settings, and in system we have security. You will find service here. You can change you can change the port through which you can log in through web. And here, first thing here is protocol. By default, we use HTTPS port 8088 as the default settings. As we have said, this is a very unusual settings. So if anybody wants to hack into your system through web, they will probably go through a more usual way through port 80. But here we have 8088, so this is now more secure. But you can change that, of course. Well, basically any port will do. You can change you can get an available port here and change it if you want to. And well, you will have a unique port. So this way your system will be more secure. Well, if you want to, you can move to HTTP from HTTPS. We don't suggest that you do that though. As you can see here we have redirect from port 80. So if you have ever configured our system, you probably already know that, well, because this is not usual port 80. So normally, if you want to log in by putting in the IP address, you will have to put in the port information here. But you don't actually really have to, because we have done the redirect from port 80. So that means once you have put in the IP address, the system will just automatically redirect from port 80. So you don't really even have to put in the actual port information. Um, this is a special process that we have taken care of. But if you have changed the port here, you will have to will put in the port information here. For example, if we use 701.1.7.1.1.1 here, so import information when I log in, after the IP address, I have to put in the port information 7111. This is only an example. Okay, so this is another thing that we can do to secure this system. Then we're going to talk about things we can do in network setting. The first thing we are going to be talking about is VLAN. So what is VLAN? VLAN is short for virtual local area network. If you want to look up into it, you will actually be able to find a lot of articles about VLAN. But here I will give you a brief introduction and talk about how VLAN will work for us. So VLAN is, as I have said, short for virtual local area network. Well, it's a group of hosts with a common set of requirements, which communicate as if they are attached to the same broadcast domain, regardless of their physical locations. So a VLAN is a broadcast domain created by switches. This means that VLAN is configured by third layer switches. So you need to note that firstly, our PBX will not work as a VLAN server. In most cases, the VLAN will be running on switches, but some switches do not support VLAN. Well, as I have said, if you really want to look up into it, if you really want to look into what is VLAN and expand a little bit on this topic, you can actually go on internet, Google it. There's a lot of articles about this. As this is a training courses for our telephone system, I will not spend too much time on the very definition of VLAN, but I will be talking about when are you going to need VLAN in our telephone system. Okay, so okay. So as you know, it is as you can see here, it is important to point out that you don't have to configure VLAN until your network gets so large and has so much traffic that you need one. So basically, VLAN will work for you when you have a whole bunch of a relatively large system. And with a large system, in many cases, you will have multiple internet faces in the same network. That is to say, for example, you will have one face, like for example, 192.168.5.0 for one department and 0.7.0 for another department. And this way you can really manage the system. And well, there is a lot of reason why you should do this, but as I have said, we won't expand this topic right here. So for us, we think if your local network, if you have over 200 devices in your local network, you're probably gonna need VLAN, because that is to say, you have your computers, you have your phones. So if you have one phone for each, one IP phone for each user in your system, when you are having over 200 IP phones, so you are probably using a S100 or S300 at this point, you probably gonna need VLAN to set up your system. And in other cases is if you have a lot of broadcast on your local network. So this way you will also need a VLAN, because a lot of broadcast, even though sometimes you don't have that much of a device, a lot of broadcasts will cause a lot of traffic in your local network system. So you might want to take advantage of VLAN to really even more efficiently manage your system. So the traffic won't go jammed, and well, the scenarios would be: a group of users need more security or are being slowed down by too many broadcasts. Well, let's say that there is one group of extensions that you have to treat differently. This way, as I have said, you probably will set a separate internet face for this very special group. And well, if you are doing this, the multiple internet faces probably on multiple switches will be sharing one single interfaces to the router. So this way you will have to use VLAN. And for the final scenario, as it says, groups of users need to be on the same broadcast domain because they are running the same applications. For example, a company that has a lot of VoIP phones connect to an IP-PBX, the administrator of the network might like to separate the VoIP from the network and configure VLAN for IP phones and PCs. So that is to say, a lot of bigger organizations with bigger telephone system will like to separate their telephone system to their usual network system, their PCs and stuff. So they will set two separate internet faces for the IP phones, the IP-PBX and PCs. So this is where VLAN will work. So to sum up, basically, VLAN is basically if you are having a lot of devices under your system, or you have a lot of broadcasts, you have a lot of traffic jam in your system, you probably would want to use VLAN. And well, our PBX totally support that, but once again, I need to emphasize that our PBX do not work as a VLAN server. The VLAN server will be the VLAN will be running on your switches. This is very, very important. Okay, so now let's see how we can configure the VLAN. So basically, you can set VLAN on the network port which you use to connect to the local network. If you use LAN port only, as you can see here in the network mode here, we set single, so that means I will be only use LAN port. Then you will only be able to enable the VLAN here on the LAN port. But if you switch it to dual modes here, then that means you can actually use both of your network port on the PBX, both LAN and WAN, to connect to separate network. So you can if you choose dual mode, you can actually set VLAN on both sides. And of course, in bridge modes, only the default interface, you can only set the VLAN on the default interface, which will be the one you use to connect to the switches. To finish up the VLAN settings, you will have to put in the VLAN ID and VLAN priority. Well, the VLAN ID and VLAN priority will be can generally be acquired from the network administrator who deployed the network. So basically, the VLAN ID is actually the identification of the VLAN, and well, the priority will be the user's priority of this packet. So well, you will have to get this information from the VLAN server, which won't be this PBX, but you have to put in those informations correctly. Then you won't have any problem at all. Well, the next thing we will be talking about is DDNS. As you know, a lot of most of in most cases, a company will use a dynamic public IP address. That is to say, the public IP address of your company will be changing from time to time. Every time you log into the internet, the public IP address will be different. Well, this is mainly to more efficiently use the very limited IP address resources. The thing is, if you are using your PBX system, in many cases you will need a interface for outside equipments to be able to access to your PBX through one IP address. In most cases, you will have to do it by a static public IP address and port forwarding on your router, so you can map out your equipment to the public network. Let's take an example. In most cases, if you are connecting to your PBX, to one of your PBXs in your office, to another PBX in your branch office. This way, the two PBX will be connected through internet. So they will need a permanent interface where they can through which they can intercommunicate with each other. But if the public IP address got changed frequently, then this interconnection will be impossible to realize. So this is where DDNS getting and work. Well, of course, you can, if you want to, and you can purchase static public IP address from the service provider. This will be very expensive, and to be honest, this is not actually buying a public IP address. You will be renting a static public IP address. You will have to pay. You will have to make an annual or monthly payment. This is very expensive, and a lot of users will choose to use DDNS, which will updating a permanent updating a domain name and create a permanent interfaces for outside equipment to get access to your own system. This is what DDNS is mostly for. If you have static public IP address, you don't need DDNS. But if you do not have a static public IP address, because it can be very expensive, you will have to use DDNS. And there is one thing I like to mention here is that our PBX system can indeed work as a DDNS server. In most cases, you will set your DDNS in your router instead of directly on the PBX. But let's say if your router do not work as a DDNS server, then you can indeed set up your DDNS in your PBX. And here is how. Firstly, you will have to acquire this DDNS service from a couple of provider. Here we have a list of all the supported DDNS service provider. You can get the information right here. This is the list we have mentioned. Once again, I like to emphasize here all the provider here that we have listed are the providers that we support to set up the DDNS directly on the PBX. Well, if you want to set up your DDNS server in your router, then you don't have to. You don't necessarily have to follow up this list. You can go to any one of those to sign up for an account. Let's take an example here. You can get in through their website, and you will see their price list. And if you want to, you can just sign up and get their get their services. But this is only one example. Anyone on the list actually can be set directly on our PBX. And well, once you are done, you will get all the informations you will need. In the DNS server domain, we have already embedded all the domains that we support. So you can choose the one that you have just signed up to, and the username, the password, and the domain will be offered once you purchase their service. And you can just put them all in, and you can successfully set up your DDNS in your PBX system. Once again, you can the more common way will be to set it up in your router. But if your router do not support DDNS, do not work as a DDNS server, you can surely set it up in our PBX. Okay. For the last part, we will be talking about how to really secure your extension. And well, I have explained it before. The reason why we need to secure extension is that, the reason why people want to hack into your system is that they want to hack into your system as one of your extensions, so they can make fraud. So they can make fraud calls using the resource that you have set up in your PBXs. So this is one access that we really need to control. So the first thing we need to do here is to make sure that only the equipments or only the equipments with right access can get into can be registered as an extension. So this is what we are going to do here. Firstly, as you can see here, in PBX settings, we have register name and the registration name and registration password. By default, the registration name is the extension number, and the registration password is a random and password generated by the system. If you want to check it, you can. Well, there are no rules about the registration password, just a random complicated password generated by the system. So our suggestion will be, normally this kind of configuration will do, but if you really want to strengthen the security here, you can actually change the registration name. You change, because as the registration name is the same as the extension, there might be a problem. So if you change the registration name to another one, then the registration it indeed can highly increase the security here. And of course, you can change to a even more complicated registration password to secure your system here, to secure your extension here. But well, this might not be enough. So this is why we have IP restriction right here. In IP restriction, you can actually define what kind of IP address can register to this very extension, as shown right here. Once you enable this feature, that means only the equipments with the IP address that matches the rules that you have set here will be able to register to this extension. Otherwise, other equipments with different IP address or the IP addresses that do not match the rules here will not be able to register. This way, we have really narrowed down the list to certain equipments, local equipments, and this way we will be able to deny most of the intentions to register to this extension, illegal intention to register to this extension. And here we have an example. Here in permitted IP address, we have put in one IP address, and we have put in the subnet mask 255.255.255.255 here. That means only equipment with this very local IP address will be able to register to this extension 1000. Otherwise, other equipments, even though in the same local network, will not be able to register. But if we want to change the rule a little bit, we can put in 0 here. Once we put in 0, that means that all the equipments with the internet phase 6 will be able to register to this extension. So only the local equipment can register to this extension. And as you know, we do support SIP forking, so that means we can actually register multiple devices to this one extension number. Well, that means different equipments will come with different IP addresses. So here we can add multiple rules right here. This way, with this IP restriction, if an outsider and hacker try to register to this extension, in most cases, it will be denied because the IP address will not be correct, will not be allowed. So this is the IP restriction. Well, there are some other things you might need to taken care of. Is that in VoIP settings we have NAT and register remotely. If you want to use this extension as a remote extension, or to be more precise, if you want to register a remote device to this very extension, let's say your mobile phone, your mobile phone, the computer in your house with a soft phone, or another phone in another location to this PBX, to this very extension as a remote extension, you will have to check NAT and register remotely. This is actually very, very important. Okay, other than changing to a more complicated registration name, or changing the registration password, or to deny the IP address, we have another way to secure your extension. We can go to General, and here in SIP we have the UDP port settings. Here we define through which port will we realize the SIP registration. By default, we use UDP 5060. This is the default port the default port for SIP registration. So if the hacker really knows what he's doing, he will go through this port to register to the PBX. But if we change to a unusual port, let's say 5080, right? So will all the intentions will be directly blocked, because your SIP registration will go not through the usual UDP 5060, but to the UDP 5080. So a hacker will go through the wrong gate and will be directly denied by the system. Okay, that's it for this first lesson. If you're interested in getting our updates, you can follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and you can follow us and get our first-hand information. And of course, if you're interested in know more about us, you can subscribe our YouTube channel, where we will update our weekly video to explain our equipments, to explain the features, how to configure your PBXs, our PBXs, to realize those features, and all of our new updates, our new functions, new products will be also introduced at the first time on our YouTube channel. Okay, thank you so much and if you have any questions, please ask me.